Okay, there we go. So the committee has met a few times this last week to talk really in depth about the conference in January. I know everybody's busy right now with harvest and other things, but we're gonna continue to drive on and make that January event awesome. So a little bit about our fiscal standings. So right now, thanks to John Antill, we've got a donation of about $1,000 from the VFW in New Whiteland, post 6978, and we have about $70 in personal donations. You'll see our expenditures up here for the tablecloth, pop-up sign, and farm aid insurance. That was all directed towards farm aid. And then we did some Vista print flyers that Tim Four and a few other people have put in the VA and other areas, which have been outstanding. So that's kind of where our expenditures are at. And our remaining total in our bank account is $374. We finally, I think, worked through some of the challenges with the website and donations and getting it to the account. I'll talk a little bit about that under the conference stuff, but that will, if that works, then we'll start to put out what we've talked about before, and that is a membership fee, probably around $5 or $10 per year, and that'll help us substantiate or fund the website and a few other things. So John is working on a couple of grants for us, the SARE grant for the conference and the SARE grant for research and education. John, did you want to go into detail on it? Either one of those?
So the conference grant has a max, if we get it, is directly to the conference. It's a maximum of $2,000. The research and education grant is a multi-year, it's a 2-year grant that we're partnering with Pioneer Knowledge Solutions in order to maximize their ability to broadcast our message across the world and use their expertise in building a database of lessons learned from the many farm educations that we do and some other stuff. So
Yeah, so I think that's fabulous. A lot of times we have experiences and stuff and we don't quantify them. That'll tie in nicely to links to the website and allow us to, if somebody says, "Hey, I want to get into farming," it allows us to point to that and move it. So we were approved, or Addie's Orchard was approved. That's another nonprofit that's partnered with us. The one that I use to get bee kits for veterans. That's been approved for the Equity and Conservation Outreach Grant. The sum is in excess of $350,000. That money, kind of the way the objectives are phrased for the Equity and Conservation Grant, is that those objectives are directed towards the veteran farms and their ability to articulate to veterans the NRCS program. So if anybody's ever worked through grants before, that will allow us to really get after in the veteran farms some of the things that veterans contact us about and would like to know how to do. One of them, I'll just use an example, would be, high tunnel. How do I get a high tunnel and how the heck do I put it together? So the Equity and Conservation Grant will fund, or the EQIP grant. We're working through that as well, whether we fund it out of the grant or something else. It will allow us to put up a high tunnel like at Jack's Farm. And then at Jack's Farm, we'll be able to show veterans through the community building program with the vendor, which is Nifty. I think it's Nifty Hoop Houses, how to put together a high tunnel. And that's just fabulous opportunity for a veteran to see that, get some experience in putting it together, and then see how the NRCS process works for a high tunnel. And that's just one example. Our commitment with NRCS will go beyond high tunnels. It will include soil and water conservation, and other programs with some energy in there as well. So we'll really be able to kick it up a notch at Porter Farms and Jack's Farm with that. And so when I use the term, just so everybody knows, Operation Groundwork, Sarah Creech coined that many years ago. as her effort to get veterans into farming and her work at Porter Farm. So we are using the term Operation Groundwork. That will start hopefully by December 1st. It was cut from the original proposal by about 30%. So Sarah, myself, and our advisory board member, Jerry Alexander, have been working through how do we shape that with the 30% cut. It is a 3-year grant. So when you start looking at the numbers, those numbers go pretty fast in 3 years. So you'll start to see a lot of the expenditure for that. And the discussion on it will probably be a lot in this form. And definitely want your input. We have objectives in there to train or to expose veterans to a certain amount of projects a month. And we want to do that, and we want to make sure that it's valuable to them. So completely looking forward to that. And we'll get in more details closer to December 1st as we nail down the project. So next, I'll move on, and then I'll see if anybody has any questions on this slide. Sarah, I didn't notice anybody from Porter Farm on. Did you want to speak to what's going on at Porter Farm?
Yeah, so this fall they have been busy. This summer they planted pumpkins, so they are picking pumpkins and selling pumpkins. Their gardens are winding down, and they are trying to put together a veteran picnic sometime in late October. I think they were going to talk to you, Joe, about advertising that. But basically, it's just a social get together, nothing too spooky, so you can bring your kids and have fun. There'll be apples from my orchard and cider and pumpkins and hopefully a potluck. So we should get that out there here real soon, kind of running out of time. But other than that, uh, they're doing great. The animals are great. Like I said, things are winding down. And a lot of the projects are winding down. So that's about it.
No, that's fabulous. I saw if you're not linked into them, they often talk about their what they're selling and what they have available on their Facebook site, which hopefully we can assist with and expand on with the grant. Again, trying to reach out to veterans and their ability to help with that too. So next it will be I'll talk to a little bit about Jack's Farm. So we had an open apiary time. Nolan was there. Nolan, did you enjoy that? Did you think that was worthwhile for us?
I did. I really enjoyed it, and it wasn't too long. And everybody really got to participate, provided they wanted to. So
Yeah, so just taking that opportunity, Addie's Orchard had a commitment, and we decided to just do an open apiary. It was only about a week out, and I decided, hey, let's just invite veterans to it. We had 8 attendees. One was a new family in Anderson, a gentleman just retired, and then the other one was the new DoD Skill Bridge person for agribility, Brad Erdell, and his family. So it went really well as well. So 2 of the things we have planned out for Jack's Farm is we're going to do on November 4th a safety and equipment operator class. So the intent of that is to go through some of the equipment that would be normally used in a farm operation, and then we have a commitment from the local Bobcat place to get an E50 scoop loader out there. We're going to show some safety aspects on the E50 scoop loader, and then also we're going to break some ground with fixing up some of the drainage issues and maybe put in a duck pond as well. The Purdue Extension Master Gardeners were out there yesterday with me, and they had a great time. A lot of their ideas align with what we want to do at Jack's Farm. So it's really just overlaying timing with what we want to do, and making and getting the Purdue Master Gardeners. One of the things we want to do when we give classes at Jack's Farm, especially in conjunction with the NRCS grant, is to make sure that we have you know, an experienced person that's making money at it, a professional person that's educated on it, and kind of tying that all together where a veteran gets a rich experience there. November 11th, we're hoping to do a veteran picnic. We need to flush that out a little bit more, but that will be probably just a light day of opportunity for camaraderie and hot dogs or hamburgers and maybe some games and other things. We're working on refurbishing the house there. That's just in the nascent plans. I know Tim Forrest committed with us to do some electrical work, and that's fantastic when that becomes available on his schedule. And we have some veterans that are going to work on fixing up the house there as well, so that we can eventually make that house as a livable area. So I'm going to go to the next slide. Just want to throw out some of the veteran farming opportunities that we've partnered with: Soil and Water Conservation Outcome Fund, Discrimination Financial Assistance Program. If you're not aware of that, that's been extended till January. And then the Indiana Ag Vet Grant, that has been extended. It is not new funding. It is an extension of the old funding, which is substantial. It's not a small amount. So they are going to fund some of the tickets for the January 19 through 21 conference at Fair Oaks Farm. They're also gonna assist with the National Training Workshop. I didn't put that in there, for AgriAbility from March 25th through 28th at the Grand Hyatt Atlanta Buckhead in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you're interested in either one of those events, the conference at Fair Oaks, and we'll go into a lot of detail because that's our conference team, and then the NTW for AgriAbility in March, they'll work on doing stipends for both of those. And I also asked them to see if they could budget in anybody interested in going to the North American Honeybee Expo, which is on January 4th through 6th. One of the things that is the Breakoff Expo from the Hive Life, and that'll be in Louisville, Kentucky from 4 through 6 January. AgriAbility will be there as well to talk about accessible beekeeping. And I know there's a couple beekeeping programs that I've posted on Facebook and sent out to include Mission Believe out of Maryland that's going to be there as well. So there'll be a couple veteran beekeeping programs there as well. I believe that Indiana Ag Vets is going to stipend the ticket for that as well. So in all three of those, they're extensive tickets in all three of those, and so that would be a nice little supplement. So veterans, and any questions up to now that I can help answer? Okay, so Sarah, did you want to talk a little bit about Farm Aid? I know I've talked a lot to AgriAbility about our end of it, but I thought Farm Aid was a great experience. Did you want to add anything to it?
Sure. This was one of the first times in a while that Farm Aid has been to Indiana. So there were a ton of people there. And we were out in the Homegrown Village, which was basically an educational corner. There was probably, I'd say maybe 100 different groups or vendors talking about different types of skills and things in farming that were important to them. So I think we were right across from the NRCS SWCD doing their soil kind of demonstrations. And then we were next to the the big conventional farming, the I forget what you call them, the feedlot, that kind of stuff. Kind of sandwiched in between two of those booths. And then, I mean, it was all kinds of different information and different types of people. And we were in the corner talking about the veterans in the state and nationally. We did have Michael O'Gorman there and Randy Ryan, who's been working with him. They were kind of there on behalf of FVC and kind of just talking about national resources for veterans in farming while we spoke about the state. We had thousands and thousands of people come through. I don't think we hardly had any time to sit down and be quiet, which is a a good thing. There were a lot of people that expressed interest, a lot of people that kind of gave their verbal support for what we were doing. And we did get, I want to say, like 20 people's names and emails for wanting to join the newsletter and join the group for Vets and Farming. It was just a good time. We did meet some other people that do stuff with veterans, both with suicide prevention, also one of the directors of the VA down in downtown. So definitely made some good contacts. We'll definitely stay in touch with those people. But overall, it was definitely a success.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Sarah. I thought it was wonderful. You know, for from the agribility or perspective that I was sitting in, it was definitely a different crowd. It wasn't the people that go to state fairs. It was someplace between um a group that likes a concert and good music and a group that, you know, really wants to support farmers. So I think Sarah, by doing that, her and Cindy and Michael O'Gorman and Randy, you know, they opened a door with us with Farm Aid that hopefully provides some grant money for us in the future as well. So thank you, Sarah, for doing that. Okay, so
Here's what Frank said it's gonna cost.
I'm sorry, did somebody have a comment?
I did, Joe, I thought, this is Jerry, I thought I was on mute, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Um, so every other Tuesday, we do continue to have the conference planning session. We had one yesterday, and we're continuing to refine the plans for the conference. Jim Harrod, I owe you some regional captain information. We're waiting to see how everything was received at Farm Aid, and I think it went well and it was enduring. The products were enduring, so I'll try to get that in the next week or two out to you as well. Unfortunately, we do have a secretary vacancy. Tammy has asked to step down from that role. So I'll put out an email on anybody who would like to become the secretary and open that up for anybody interested in that. She's done a great job. She's just coming across some challenges, and she asked for a little bit of time without having to do that. And myself and John, we accepted that. And then lastly, Will Fett, who's been on our advisory board, a great supporter with NRCS. He is moving to Oregon. I have a gentleman's name, Mr. Chu, that's our current point of contact with NRCS, and then they'll refill Will's job. If anybody's interested in that job, he is kind of the outreach public affairs person for NRCS in Indiana. More than happy to connect you with anybody who might say, hey, that'd be kind of a cool job. But he's done some great work for us, and that's much appreciated. So I'm going to go through the conference a little bit, and then I'm going to show you guys the flyers, and really would love some robust discussion on that. First of all, the conference room placement, we're gonna do a site visit in October. Just the old military term of a recon, and kind of look on the space in the conference rooms to support our idea of a beginner track and a couple of advanced tracks. I think we're okay, but I really want to look at this space. It seems like we have a main hall that can be split in half, and then 3 sub rooms we can use. But again, I kind of want to see the conference room before we put together the agenda. I do have some speaker commitments that I'll talk to in a little bit, but right now, I want to make sure before we put together an agenda, we have good room stuff there. Guy said AgVets is going to stipend tickets for that. We anticipate the ticket cost. John, are we comfortable with $100 ticket cost? John Anthill, you there?
I'm here, Joe. What was the question?
Are you good with the $100 ticket cost for the conference or the workshop?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. That
Okay,
should work out for the amount.
okay. So, initially we talked about $200 cost. That was gold plating it. I think we're gonna pull that back a little bit and make it $100 ticket cost. It will be $100 for adult tickets. So for instance, if I take my wife and I don't have a child below the age of 14, but in my 12-year-old son, let's say, that would be a ticket for me, a ticket for my wife, and then the child would be free. And then likewise, if the person is in Indiana or the adjoining states, and if Indiana AgVet accepts caretakers, because usually that's what they would call the spouse, that ticket would be stipend or paid back through the AgVets grant in Hoosier Uplands. The hotel is going to be out of pocket, and the reason for the hotel out of pocket is mainly because we've done events before at the Agribility or Purdue level, and if you make it completely free, people don't show up, and then you really have an expense if you're paying for a hotel and you're paying for a ticket. So we wanted to make sure that there was some skin in the game from the individuals. And not everybody's going to want a hotel. Some people are going to just want to come and go and be there on Saturday, which is great. So we wanted to kind of give that. We didn't want to guarantee hotels or pay for hotels. They're really good rated. We'll see them in the flyer in a minute. So you'll see also the event and sponsorship flyers, which after this meeting, any touch-ups tomorrow that the team of Marissa and Katie can do. Our goal is on Friday to be able to send out both the event and sponsorship flyers. And I appreciate anybody who can spread around the sponsorship flyers and the event flyers to really start to do it. One of the things that we've done is Marissa did a great job. She's an old veteran with me, served with me many years ago in the finance realm, is that we're trying to make sure that there is a good linkage with the QR code on the flyer, that the money, that when they link it, buy a ticket, the ticket gives us the information we know, and then that ticket actually, or that money actually hits the bank account. We went public for about a minute or two today on it. I put myself in, and we'll see tomorrow if there is $200 for me and my wife to attend this in the Veterans in Farming bank account. So after that test goes through and they're both working on the sponsorship link as well, we'll be good to go on the conference and be able to put that out hopefully by the end of the week. Childcare is a little bit up in the air. We're still working through that, but if anybody has ideas on childcare, I'm more than happy to hear that. Or if anybody has a teenager and says, "Hey, I'll watch them," I think right now we're still working on that, as best to say, and looking for ideas on childcare, knowing that it has a nice pool park there and other things. Somebody may jump onto the childcare bandwagon. Again, I'm going to do a site visits. And when the event comes up for release, we'll send that through the emails as an event, much like we do when we have these meetings, except it'll have a ticket option and then an option for you to pay for the ticket through your credit card through the Wild Apricot website, and likewise for the sponsorship, and you'll see the sponsorship benefits in a minute. So any questions up to now that I could answer,
Joe,
jump on? Go ahead.
this is John. So the VFW is going to give us a table there for the fall conference. Are we going to reciprocate for them a table for people to sign up for the VFW at our conference? That was something the commander here wanted to know.
I think that's fair, but let's talk about that a little bit. You mean a gratuitous, no cost one like they're giving us?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. Does anybody have issue that if somebody's giving us a gratuitous table at their event? So John's got the John is doing a table for the VFW's state event at the end of October. And what he's asking is if the VFW, if they come to our event, if they can do a gratuitous table. I have no issue not charging them for that. What any issues or thoughts on charging them when they haven't charged us?
I agree. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. So we'll plan for that, John. I think that's good to go. Just have them sign up and um we'll work through the payment options and how that goes. If the website doesn't accept it, we'll do it on the side, Joe.
All right, Joe, I'll do it personally myself.
Okay. Yeah, we just gotta figure out so it looks so it ends up right in our accounting system. So this is the Veterans and Farming Workshop. We're calling it a workshop just because it is actually, training for people and veterans in getting into farming. So I'm going to show you the first half of it and kind of go through it, and then we'll go through the second half. So excited to announce it. We included homesteading, trying to get the master gardeners there. I have a meeting with the Purdue lead master gardener, POC, Mr. Ulrich at the end of the month, and we'll hopefully get him there, and then you'll see kind of the details in there. And feel free, raise your hand or jump in if you think something's wrong. Right now, under the highlighted topics is we're going to do business planning. I have a due out from Holly Akers, who's done other business planning events for farming, to confirm that. I've got a couple of confirmations for the commodity panel. I do have confirmation from Monty Henderson, who does the business planning and economics for farms. So we're going to include that. Thanks to a great comment by Jerry last time. And then Kimber Nicolette Martinez, who's with Purdue. She's going to do a class on farm stress. So those are going to be the beginning farmer areas for now. We may extend them. What we're looking at really there is going to be mainly, how much time can you do in a day in those areas and still make them rich. Business planning is actually for Boots to Business is actually a 2-day event. We're going to see if we can kind of get that into a 2 or 4 hour time period. The hotel rates you'll see there guaranteed till December 20th, 119 and 129. I think we have 20 rooms of each, or 20 and 30. I don't have that sheet in front of me, but we have a substantial amount of rooms for both of them. Hot breakfast is included in it, and then that is the individual's responsibility with the hotel. And there are a few winter events that are going on, such as sledding and other things, usually at that time period at Fair Oaks. The cost will be $100. John, I'm glad you agreed to it because they'd have to change the flyer. That's really going to be inclusive of what is the individual going to get out of that besides the training. It's going to be lunch, dinner, those little snacks in between lunch and dinner on the 20th. There'll be no meal on the Sunday, and there will be a social on Friday. So Katie, if we can just make that 20 clearly the 20th of January and put in social on Friday as well, the 19th.
Got it.
Thank you. And then again, stipends are available through AgVets with VETS, and we'll put Linda's information if it's not already in there. It is in the other areas. So again, 19th will be an evening social, 20th will be classes, 21st will be farm tours. So that's up to the individual, although we can get a bulk rate. We should put farm tours in the ticket area. So we'll add farm tours into the ticket area for the website, and that's an additional $20 per person. And really, that's to do a tour of all those great things that Fair Oaks has, such as the cattle viewing area and other things. It's an inside tour And that number reduces, I think, to $19 if we get 100 people. So that's a pretty good deal there. The website will take you not to the new QR code, if not this one, will take you right to the event to sign up. And what we wanted to do with this is our opinion, and I'm open to any thoughts, was not to make it Indiana specific, but Fair Oaks is very close to Illinois, closer to Michigan. So we wanted to make sure that it was available to other states to attend as well, so that we maximize the participation there. So the QR code will be able to sign up. We had a little discussion on whether you had to be a Veterans in Farming member to go to it. I think right now we're at a no for that. And mainly because we want to grow the membership from people going, oh, that was an awesome event, I should join the organization and be a part of it. So any thoughts on outside the state or Veterans in Farm, only the membership of Veterans in Farm?
Joe, my opinion is let everybody come in, and that way we can collect their money. But I'm gonna let everybody else decide.
Good point.
I
Well,
think it should be open to everyone.
yeah, everyone, please. More the merrier.
Oh, I'm doing good.
Okay. No, I appreciate those comments. I just want to make sure we're, kind of along the right track with everybody. So that's kind of the flyer. We'll touch it up a little bit with those two things. We'll add to the website farm tickets and see how we work through that financially. But I also have, we didn't put it on here, but one of the commodities people we also have is besides Leslie and I believe Sarah, did you commit to it yet?
What do you mean commodities? I don't know what you're talking
I'm
about.
talking about your the way you do your farm.
Yeah.
No, I don't think anybody's asked me. But can you rephrase that on the flyer? Because when you say
The big
commodities,
thing is, can
I
you
feel
wash
like
your own
it's
balls?
avoidance.
Can you make yourself a peanut
I'm
butter jelly
sorry,
sandwich?
there's an open mic someplace. Go ahead, Sarah.
No, I was just asking if you can change the wording on the commodities panel, because to me, it sounds like you're going to have people like the commercial corn, soybean, pig farmers. Like it's not clear that you're what you're talking about on that.
Yeah,
So I'm happy to be on that panel, but I would never consider myself under a commodities panel. So I think it's confusing to people.
okay.
Like it's confusing to me.
That makes sense. No, that makes sense. Our intent there, and maybe we'll look for a better word, is, somebody who does cows, somebody who does chickens, somebody who grows vegetables, somebody who does mushrooms, somebody that has I would call them commodities, but I understand what you're saying with the big three, corn, soy.
Yeah, I kind of feel like commodities is large scale production. So when you're talking small scale or small farm production, like commodities is never used. I
What
don't
would
think.
what would be a better term to describe that? I'm open to changing it if I could think of a word.
I don't know. Let me think on it.
Okay. But that's the intent, is the small scale producers that have been successful, like Leslie with rabbits and cows and other things. So that a farmer that is a beginning farmer that's deciding what they can get into can say, I'd like to, I don't know what I want to do, but I'd like to hear about how you do, X. How do chickens, everybody does the gateway drug of eggs and other things. So just have a panel where they can answer kind of those beginning questions and how marketable those areas are. So great. I'm gonna unshare this, wait for anybody with any other comments on this, and we'll share the stipend one, or the sponsorship one.
Well, to Sarah's point, we might you might put something else on there as to who this is geared towards, what kind of farmer this is geared towards. Especially, I know you're gonna change the commodities panel, right? But for example, if people were to see a commodities panel and they come to this and you have somebody that farms rabbits, which is totally fine, up there speaking, like that's a complete bait and switch for those people, right? For a multiple thousand acre corn, soybean, wheat, hog farmer, for example. So, if we're going to put this out, like having people understand what kind of farmer it's for might be useful for them.
Okay. Well, if anybody wants to shoot me any ideas on either a better word or, maybe we just put, I'd like to put a generic word in there as we build the panel in case something changes, but, maybe we just put farmers, small farmers.
Hey, Joe, what if you put something like a design your small scale farm or something like that as a title? Because then you have all the different people that give pieces of different types of farmings you could do. And then you could even use like Jack's farm as an example, because it's obviously still in the planning stages. And so you could almost do an entire set on, okay, let's plan this farm out. Like you have, 15 pieces that you want to add on the plan. And so you could like come up with that on a map together and then talk about like, okay, how would you get that set up? What would you do? What would you need for each of these different types of kind of enterprises or whatever? And I would probably gear more towards on the wording more towards like homesteading or small scale sustainable farming. Those are kind of the words really that give that kind of impression.
Okay. So, we do have, I think it's a good idea, but let's think on the word homesteading a bit in there. I think that's great. We do have one of the topics is being starting a homestead, which I think would get into, how to set it up and the like with one person speaking in that. The panel discussion was more like, hey, I don't know what I want to do, but what's it like to do chickens, Sarah? Do you really sell and make your money out of chickens? Is it better to do meat? How many do you think you need to do that? So instead of having 5 classes by I'll say a produce item, to have one panel that could answer numerous questions. So we'll refine that. And I was just holding off on the homesteading person discussion or bringing that out only because I didn't have a great person to give it yet. And also I was looking at time for business planning as well, but it is on the list.
Well, it also depends what you're geared to. If we're geared to somebody that farms 1,000 acres, commodities is ideal. But if you market or to a small operation of 100 acres or less, then they need to look at their markets and what's close to them if they want to do that, or they want to ship.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be about knowing your audience because I'd say the majority of the people that we come in contact to, while they may want to make money on there, I think if you talk about homesteading and then profitable small scale farm enterprises, like that's going to give a different idea. Like that's where our people are historically.
Oh no, I agree. I agree. What do you think? What do we think of the term small scale something?
What about profitable small scale ventures?
Why don't we just do a panel of experienced farmers? How's that sound?
Yeah, the problem is on that flyer, it's not clear what we're talking about or who we're talking about. Because to me, it looks I apologize, but it looks really boring. Like I looked at the listing of that and that doesn't seem very interesting to me. And so I think it's just in how you phrase it. So it has to be a little more colorful and more explanative. That's not the right word, but of the types of things that we're going to have that draw people in. Especially if you're going to ask for money for the admission. Like there has to be something that they want that they're not going to get otherwise.
Okay. Well,
You know,
Katie,
a good buzzword in my business is scalable operations. So, because it doesn't matter if farmer's on a half acre, you know, this is how this stuff is going to be scalable for you. Because Leslie's got more acres than I do, but we run a very similar business.
okay. Katie, are you kind of tracking all this and getting some thoughts together how to drop that in there?
Yes, I got it.
Okay. Let's see if we can, we'll see if we can jazz it up and stuff. I hear what you're saying, and we'll see if we can jazz it up a little bit in that topic items. Because I agree, it's what's going to draw people to come to it. And commodities panel maybe a bit vague with other things, so we'll jazz it up in that area. Appreciate the input. Okay, let me move over to the sponsorship flyer real quick. There you go. So we went off the agribility amounts, and really it's a jazzy first line on it if you can see it. Veterans and Farming is working hard to host a workshop. We need your help in order to make this event a success for our military veteran farmers. Bronze is $500. Logo on website, name and program. I hope everybody keeps me accountable to making sure that we have all that, the name of the program and the website. That means we have to put together a program, obviously, and then mentions on Facebook, and then a slideshow, and then you'll see the same for silver and gold areas. And what we're looking at right now is how to link that. Then the last one, the gold area, you get a free table in the vendor area with a max of 10 tables that are available in that area. So eventually at the gold level, we have to stop taking in tables because there just isn't the space for it. So with the bronze, silver, and gold, one conference registration. Why don't we change that word instead of conference? Why don't we change that to workshop ticket or ticket, Katie? That way
Sounds
that
good.
clarifies that. And so really, so everybody knows that ticket, nobody's getting money off that ticket. That ticket is actually just going towards meals. So that's kind of the balance of it, is the ticket is kind of the meal cost. I don't want to, we don't want to make money on the event, but obviously people want to eat, they want their coffee in the middle, they want to do a program. That's really where that $100 is going to go to. Same with silver. And these are just bigger donations where we can defer the cost. Now, a lot of times when it comes to programs like this, we may extend stipends, and it may be more of getting back the money and saying, hey, your stipend, don't pay for it. It's, hey, your stipend, and we'll give you a check when you go to it. And again, that draws people to go to it. We have found that if you say, hey, here's a free ticket, people don't go to it because they have not put their equity or their skin in the game to go to the event. So we would ag vets normally, and I would recommend that if we get to the point of having the ability to do our own stipends, that we reimburse on site with probably a check or something like that for people that have requested stipends. But what this will do is if you give us a silver membership, you get your logo on the website and program. name on the logo mentioned in Facebook posts, we'll do that. Name listed on the slideshow in the ballroom, and then you get 2 free tickets for the event. And then the gold members gets 3 conference registrations, gets a slideshow, part of the quarter slide on the slideshow in the ballroom, Facebook post, and then a table in the vendor area. So again, we can work through those one-offs like the VFW and the like, and we can work through that. You know, the goal is not to make money. It's to break even. That's really the goal, is to break even and to have a quality program where people can see, you know, things that are going to be useful or good to them as future veteran farmers. So any thoughts on this right here? I'll scoot down and you can see the veterans of farming, and the QR code will take us to the area where people can sign up to be a sponsor in those categories. Any thoughts? Okay, nothing heard. We're gonna refine this one a little bit as well. And but we're probably within the ballpark of being able again to get it out on Friday. And then this QR code, if you give it, and I'll just use this as an example, to you know, Tractor Supply, and they say, hey, we would love to be a bronze member. They should be able to scan this QR code, go to our website, put in a credit card, and then that money with the name of the organization, uploading a logo, allows us then to support them for that. So hopefully that works out and gets us some significant income as well. And as that donations come in through this, that then allows us to defer or reimburse tickets as well. Okay,
Hey, Joe, this is Jerry.
go ahead, sir.
I was looking for a QR code to donate to your Facebook post about your birthday, you know, to Addie's Orchard, but I couldn't find a QR code.
Yeah, and you know, that's a great point. I'll talk to my people on the Addie's Orchard side. That Facebook is kind of a little bit different, where it's that button that funds it and then actually goes into a registered bank account for nonprofit. So
Yeah, Joe, I was just joking with you about the $200. I did see it. I thought I'd donate the other $180 you needed to get to 200. Then you can take it down.
It should only be 160 after I donated.
I appreciate it, guys. Okay, let me I'm gonna pop up the slide real quick and see if there's any last thoughts. I did notice somebody donated exactly my age, which I thought was kind of ironic. I didn't know they knew that. So I'm going to go around the room or leave it open mic for a minute to see if anybody's got thoughts, questions, or good ideas on where veterans and farming should go. More than happy to hear them. So any thoughts? Are we in the right direction, the wrong direction? What do we think? I know that we're a little slow on the conference stuff, but I think we're going to clean that up this week. So any thoughts or ideas, or should we grab onto something else out there?
Well, Joe, you might put down the farm machinery show coming up in, I think, February in Louisville. That's a big event. They got a lot of small stuff too these days. So anybody wants to hitch a ride, I think I'll go to it. But I wouldn't mind going to that beekeepers thing too, just to see.
Okay, no, that's super. We'll put that back. We'll put that on the list. I'll look up the farm machinery show. I am waiting for kind of as that gets closer on the beekeeping thing to see if we want to get a party van to go down there.
Well, I'm just across the river, so you can park it here and then we'll go over together or something.
So I'll throw that out there because I think it often becomes opportunity, if we become and I know we are going to become a robust organization, do we would probably have money to start, renting vehicles, or if somebody says, hey, I'm going to the farm machinery show, can Vets Farming rent a vehicle, and we do a sweep or pickups, I'm all for that. Again, it's, the matter of getting veterans involved. And I have found actually I think it's in March or April, maybe, the the Amish small farm show up in Shipshewana was very interesting because they don't get into the huge John Deere stuff, obviously, because they're Amish, but they also have techniques that are small scale, low, I don't want to say low number production. So if I'm looking for, what I saw there that was interesting to me was an orchard sprayer, which is very hard to find if you don't have a 2,000 tree orchard. I also found there, some small maple reduction burners that were made by the Amish that, again, would probably fit my thoughts as maybe producing 100 gallons at most a year versus some of the larger ones. So
Yeah.
I do think some of those shows are very valuable, and I'll tell everybody that AgVets will stipend it. I mean, if you get with Linda Tarr and say, hey, I'm going to go to this, it's going to be $100 ticket, will you pay for it? 99.9% of the time, if it has to do with farming, she's going to pay for it.
Well, there's that down in Bowling Green, Kentucky, homesteading and sustainable farming conference. Now they're getting into trapping and all that stuff. That's coming up in October, end of October. But also there's a small farm conference, I believe, up in Danville, Indiana, sometime in March also. I'm not sure, but it also there should be Indiana Grown coming up in there too sometime. In other words, I think, and what I'm saying is we need to get out and wear our logos and get notoriety around different organizations and exposure, I guess. Maybe we could bring more people into farming that route.
No, I like that. I think one of the things we want to do at the conference is going to be definitely selling bling, where people can have a hat, a patch, or something else and wear it, or a shirt, and wear it around the farm and get somebody interested in it.
Hey, Joe.
Yep.
Just with the tree form going out, are we going to do a list of what our members want, and then that way we can do a bulk order? Because it would help save everybody some money if we do that way versus everybody puts in their own thing and then we can distribute them to the different legions.
I'm sorry, and this was reference to trees or shirts. I was kind of broken up on that.
The trees that you put out for the forms.
Yeah. Yep. I would say this. One of our challenges is when I would be happy to put that out and set it up on the website and send out an email. But I'll be honest with you, when we've done that, we maybe get 16 on a great topic. We get 20 responses. So I didn't really want to do it that way. My thought on the Facebook site is that way it becomes an individual. If I got pawpaw trees and somebody texted me and say, hey, Joe, can I have 3 of the 100 pawpaw trees you got? I'd probably, say, yeah, sure, come get them. but I would like to get to that point, and I think there's a lot of, and Joe Rourke and I have discussed that there's a lot of benefit in bulk purchasing that we probably need to get to the next level on as well.
Hey, Joe, I got a thought that, we're talking about farming on a small scale for veterans. I'm just wondering what, if a person's going into business, any kind of business, they typically can have a model that, if you have 10 acres and you plant certain, and again, I am not a farmer, so I don't know if this makes sense or not, but it would seem like that it might be for veterans that are interested in going into farming. And I've attended a number of conferences and stuff now, but no one has said, here's a model farm that if you planted and harvested these crops, if you had, 10 chickens and you had, whatever, you could realize a net profit of a certain amount of money. Instead of it's at this point, it's kind of by guess and by gosh. And so, well, my wife said that's how farming is, really, by guess and by gosh, but it shouldn't be that way. It should be that all things being average, if you, and contingent upon weather and stuff like that, you should be able to, if you have 10 acres, how much money could a person make converting 10 acres of ground into a farm operation and realize a certain amount of money? I haven't seen any examples of that anywhere. Is there such a thing? I mean, for years, farming has been only large scale farmers survive, little farmers don't. And now the large scale farmers are getting out of the business and retiring, and nobody's interested in buying their large scale farms. So I think that could be why the USDA is interested in this, is that nobody's buying those big farms anymore. They can't afford them for one, and another, their kids aren't interested. So does that make sense, or did I just ramble about something that is unrealistic?
So I can tell you from a beekeeping perspective, I could probably project that if you are a good beekeeper, what you can get in year 1, year 2, and year 3, knowing that an ounce of honey is a buck an ounce, that most likely you're probably in the first year as a great beekeeper gonna, be challenged, but if you're really good, you can make a gallon or 2 of honey. So you could do the math from that and then exponentially grow that as a beekeeper and kind of project out. And I think that's what you're getting at, Jerry. And I'm sure there's some simple commodities that are within that realm to model. And there's probably some more particular commodities that would be more difficult. So I know my chickens produce, with 4 chickens, I produce 3 to 4 eggs a day. I can sell a dozen eggs for, let's just say on the high end, $5. So I could model that out and maybe give some assurance, where I think what you're saying is put together the multiple models, and then subtract cost based upon what expenditures you have to get there. How much chickens cost, how much does a coop cost, how much does a beehive cost? Does Ricker give you the beehive, or do you have to buy it yourself? So I think there is some value there. I think it becomes a riskier number as you start getting into other items like plants and other things. And then you have to make sure that you have the market in the area for it. But I really like the idea. And then what I was looking for was in John Anhill had a drop. I think that's kind of what John Anhill was trying to do with his SARE grant, was trying to model out some areas where you could piece them together like that and get a profit. I don't know. I don't know if anybody else runs a small scale like that, or Sarah, if you had any thoughts from your experience on it.
Yeah, I would definitely say, Jerry, I think that is something that veterans are actually asking for, that are beginning farmers. They want to know, okay, like, what do things cost? What could I actually make money, and what would that take? The delivery of that information, though, is a little bit difficult because it all depends. Like, everybody's farm is and how it is different. So, like, I agree. I think that would be a fantastic presentation. And I think you just have to go in presenting, like, that's why I was saying more the homestead model, where you can show different types of pieces, where it's almost a plug and play on a small scale farm. And I can give a lot of those numbers and costs because I've done a lot of different types of small scale farming. So I think that would be extremely helpful. I think it's totally doable, with the caveat that for everybody, it depends. And I think you can get mired down by, like, it depends on where you're at and all this stuff. But if you just get down to the bare bones, like, okay, what do I need to raise 5 cows? What would it cost for 5 years of raising 5 cows? How much money could I make, if I could even make any money? Or a beekeeping enterprise. Like, when I did my farm, my goal was for any enterprise that I added to the farm to scale it up to a $10,000 profit. So that was what I kind of used to grow that to, other than vegetables. Some of it was successful at that. Some of it, it's like, you can't do it on a small scale. So I think that's just as important to know as what it would take for something that is successful for a small scale farm. So I definitely think it's important that we hash this out. If we talk more about kind of the diversity on the presentation of different topics and ways of presenting that are engaging to people. So I think we can work that out in the next few weeks and months.
Sarah, I think you just said something there, and maybe that's closer to our session title, is how to find plug and play farm products, or something like that, right? What we're talking about is a modular system. So what are these pieces, and how do you decide when and how to plug them in?
Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of resources out there for people that are doing homesteading, where they're not looking for selling or making a profit. And then they have it for larger scale, even small scale farms, but on a larger scale where you're talking about, selling vegetables for $100,000 a year. But I think most veterans are looking smaller scale. Like, I go to one farmer's market, $10,000 is what I'm looking for out of each area. So I think that's a realistic area to look at that really hasn't been presented too much.
Okay, let's look at that. I'm trying to look up John's grant, but I'll circle back with them. But I really like that idea. I think what it does for a veteran is, at least it lets you know in some sort of logical fashion what you need to look for on your property, how much property you have, and how much risk you have. Because there's probably, maybe 3 to 10 items that a veteran looks for when they first enter into farming. And if we could model those, I'm sure it would certainly help. I went into this with the thought that I could do alpaca, blueberries, mini cow, and all that. And you eventually figure out through experience, like Sarah's had, some of it works and some of it don't, and some of it just doesn't turn a profit. It's more of a just break even on, like an alpaca. So, all right. Hey, I think that was a great discussion. I'll circle back on that last point a little bit.
Joe, this is Jerry again. I don't want to belabor the point, but I think that if there was this model that we're talking about, when people go to the conference and they get infatuated with the thoughts of, well, that would be neat to go into farming. There really needs to be some suggested pathway to making money from it. We're all, I mean, of course, I've been an entrepreneur all my life and I've owned all kinds of businesses, but when I evaluate anything, I base it on what is the potential to realize a profit, and what has to happen in order for me to get to that point. And then if I absolutely cannot succeed, if I have 10 acres and there's no way to become a farmer entrepreneur with 10 acres, how many acres does a person really need on a small scale to make a living? That's kind of what I was thinking about, because we're talking to veterans that want to get into farming, and we can't set them on a path that, well, you might break even if you have this type of thing. You'll probably lose money if you do this. I think they're going to really want to know, what do I have to do to make money if I'm going to succeed in this venture? That's all I was getting at.
No, I agree. I think those are all great points, Jerry. I just got to take some homework on it and put some thoughts to it. And Sarah and Joe or anybody else, if you guys have some ideas, let me know. And maybe we just start with 3 areas if we have time between now and January to model out and expand from there. And then I think that would be well versed for anybody in the Midwest, to look at and say, how do I move forward in this venture and make it profitable? Okay, any other last comments? Okay, great meeting. I think it was a really rich discussion. I appreciate you, and I'll talk at you next month. I'll send out the same emails and the like. Thank you.